What's going on, everybody? I'm deciding I'm going to try something a little new today with the podcast, the Undefeated by Choice podcast, brought to you by Steelfist. It's a beautiful day. I thought I'd get out of the studio today and we could talk about the fights last weekend for Steelfist. It was an awesome card. It was a packed card, or a stacked card. And then we can talk about last night's events in the UFC, which was, I think we'll just talk about the last three fights because those are the only ones anybody's going to be talking about. And they were all three amazing. But before we do that, we wanted to get into the Steelfist card because that's why we're all here. And this live podcast may just be for Steelfist. I don't know. I may be able to put it in production and edit it and put it on the podcast, but listening to this may be the only one. You may be the only ones that get to hear this time around. But so the night started out Doug Anderson versus Jordan Munoz. That was a split decision win, and that was a great way to start out the night. A great way to start the fight. And I'm going to get back to that fight. I'm going to get back to talking about that fight and what I wanted to see in that fight, and how Stipe Miocic did exactly what I wanted to talk about. And I'll get into it. I promise. It will make more sense when I explain it. The second fight of the night was Jordan Marshall versus Jackson Randall, and that was Jordan Marshall came out looking like a man possessed. He came out looking like a man getting ready to, who wants to get his belt back. He came out swinging hard. They both did. Both of them are kind of known to come out fast and end fights fast, and that was exactly what he was looking to do. He came out swinging hard, went to the ground. He took Jackson's back and ended up submitting him with a rear naked choke. So that was an exciting fight to watch. It ended quick, but we kind of knew that it was going to, because that's just how they fight, and that's how those guys kind of. Now I was saying that before when I was interviewing Andrew and Michael that this whole division is a division full of people who are these young, hungry guys who all have good wrestling, who all have good. Good stand-up. They hit hard for that division, and they go in trying to kill each other. So I wasn't expecting anything different out of those guys, and I was surprised to see it end in a rear naked choke, just because I thought they both were going to keep standing the whole time, and that was where that fight was going to go. But it was an exciting fight to watch. The third fight of the night, which was my vote for fight of the night, was Jade Jacobson and Coy Caldwell. Those two women, they gave it all, man. They left it all out there. That ended with a third round stoppage by the ref. Submission to strikes is what they called it. But that was, anybody who was there, if you weren't standing and cheering during that fight, like you're not a real fight fan, because that's exactly what everyone wanted to see, and that's what everybody came to see, was a fight like that. So that one was super exciting for all of us, and it was one of those, just throw everything out there. I mean, both of them were singing heavy shots the whole time. And even though they were just exhausted and just could barely stand, and they kept going to the ground and getting back up and getting. I mean, that's exhausting as a fighter, and it doesn't even matter if someone's laying on you and you're trying to get them and they're trying to wrestle you and they're keeping you down. Just the fact of just taking your body weight and getting up off the ground time and time and time again. It gets exhausting, and those two just kept coming and they kept throwing, and it was really fun fight to watch. I actually text a friend of mine who was in the crowd, and it was his first time ever coming to the fights, and I texted him and said, "That's the fight of the night right there," and he just is like, "Yeah, that was a great fight." So that one was really fun to watch. And then the Heather Torres Brittany Gilman fight Ended in a second round rear naked choke, and that was a fight that you looked at, and I was like, this is exactly striker versus grappler. And I talked to Heather's camp, and they said, yeah, her striking's coming along, but her grappling's where she's most comfortable, and that's where she's going to want to go. That's where she wanted the fight to go. So that's exactly what happened. Brittany came out and was hitting her with flurries. Brittany comes with a lot of volume in her punches. She comes from a camp that's what they drill. They drill volume, combos. So that's what she came with. And she hit Heather with a lot of good stuff. I remember there was one body shot that she hit her with, and it made me think, oh man, I would not want to get hit by that body shot. I mean, it was good. It was awesome. So, but Heather is good on the ground. Really good on the ground. Her jiu-jitsu is really good. So, she worked toward the back, took the back, and ended up getting the choke. And then there was a first round rear naked choke between Scott Devlin and Kyle Frazier. Those two guys, Scott got on the mic after and said how much he loved Kyle and respected Kyle, and Kyle's wrapped his hands and cornered him for many fights. Scott's one of those guys who shows up, every fight. Doesn't matter. He's just ready to fight, and win, lose or draw, he's going to go out there and he's going to fight. Kyle comes from the same camp as Brittany. They're known for lots of volume, and that's what we were expecting in the fight. Scott just took advantage of some groundwork and was able to get him in the rear naked choke and finish the fight. Nathan Harris versus Brian Johns. I might have this one wrong. I have it down as a first round guillotine, but it may have been a second round guillotine. I don't exactly remember. But that's how the fight was finished, and that was a good back and forth fight. Two guys. It was really pretty evenly matched. I felt it was a real good matchup, and Nathan just caught him. Ducked his head. Brian ducked his head, and Nathan was able to secure the guillotine to finish the fight. So. That was a real impressive win by Nathan, and he was, jumped to the cage after over to Kevin and was like, "Oh, put me on the next card. Put me on the next card." Next card is full. Next card is in October. Next card is full, but we'll get you on as soon as we can because we like how you fight, brother. So just keep doing what you're doing, keep training, and we'll get you on another card as soon as we can. The next fight was the Cole Faust versus Jacob Diaz fight, and this one was a very exciting fight, both in their debut. And I have to make a correction because I had said earlier on an earlier podcast that Cole wanted to go pro right off the bat, and his dad made sure to correct me and let me know that wasn't the case. That he's young, and they want to groom him. They want him to experience amateur fighting. They want him to experience shorter rounds. They want him to experience everything. He's young. There's no reason to push it. There's no reason to jump to pro. Where the confusion came in is that his camp feels he's definitely ready to go pro, and hey, the kid's got skill. There's no denying he's got skill. He went in there, secured a second round armbar, and he really just looked dominant, and Jacob did not look like a slouch. He did not look like Jacob was in the fight the whole time. There was any moment that it could have gone his way, that he could have turned the tides and started landing big hits or big shots and finished the fight. But Cole just definitely looked dominant, and really excited to see. He's a young prospect. Really excited to see what he's going to bring to the table, and just how he evolves in this sport. It was quite awesome to see. Then we had the Natalia Spies Jocelyn Kaufman fight, and that was a unanimous decision for Natalia Spies, and now she's our women's champion title holder. And that was a beautiful fight on both parts. It was back and forth. It really was. I mean, it was a unanimous decision. I did feel that Natalia dominated most of the fight, but there were moments that Jocelyn would do something, and it looked like she was about to take over the fight. There's a few times they went to the ground, and I feel if they had gone to the ground a lot more, maybe it could have gone in Jocelyn's favor. But Natalia was real good at getting back to her feet, and it was when it came to the striking, Natalia was just a skosh faster on everything that she did. She just was able to get there a little quicker. So it was a really fun fight to watch, and like I said, I really thought that it could go either way. Then we had the Justin Taplin Colton Hildebrand fight, and that ended real quick. It was a first round ref stoppage, TKO for Justin. Now he's the 205 AMI champ, belt holder. And from where it looked, and I haven't talked to Justin about it, from where it looked like Colton caught him. And in an exchange real quick, real early on, they both came out throwing fast and hard. And at the 205 division, anyone could go to sleep at any moment on any punch. That's just the type of power that they have. And it looked like Colton caught him, and he jumped on it and went for the guillotine. And it was tight. Now here's the thing is, I don't know how tight it was, but it looked very tight from where we were sitting, cage side. And it looked like, that might have been what was going to end the fight. But Justin just remained calm. He remained in the pocket, in his spot, not moving around, not letting it sink in deeper, and just letting him kind of tire his arms out going for the guillotine, and he was putting everything he could into the guillotine. As soon as Justin's head slipped out, it was all over from then. Justin just started raining down heavy punches. There was one shot that I particularly remember. It sounded like when someone like punches a hollow pumpkin. That's the noise that it made with one of his punches, and I was scared. I was scared for Colton. Just because I'm not in there. When you're not in there, it always seems a lot different than what it's like for the person who's in there. I'm sure Colton got hit and was like, that was a hard shot, but it's not like it was scary to him. It was like, well, I'm in a fight. This is what's going to happen. As a spectator standing outside, it's a little different. It was an impressive display by Justin just to see, what his control that he had over Colton on the ground, not allowing him to get back up and just, firing off big bombs. So congratulations to him. Then we had our co-main event, Andrew Aureliano versus Michael Eastwood. And Andrew had a great game plan, and he stuck to it the entire time. Stay on the outside, use the entire cage, move around the entire cage, and kind of frustrate Michael. Michael would come in to engage, and Andrew would fire off a few shots and then get out and start circling. And it was it was a game plan that was working for him. And again, I want to go back to that, talking about game plans with the Jordan Munoz and Doug Anderson fight. I want to go back to talking about game plans, because I think they really played a part in these last 2 weeks of fighting, to where I noticed it and thought, okay, there needs to be something. There needs to be a discussion about game plans, because Andrew stuck to his game plan and won the fight. A third round triangle choke. Beautiful display by him, and you could tell that he was frustrating Michael with his game plan. So then we go to the main event, Nick Martinez versus Hayden Brown. And, this is exactly what we thought it was going to be. It was a dogfight for as long as it lasted. It was both of them landing heavy shots, hard shots. Even Nick said, that Hayden was landing big, heavy shots, and they were hurting, and so he definitely wanted to go to the ground with him. He didn't want to take any more shots. So, it was exactly the fight that we expected, that we called it to be, and it was Nick caught Hayden in that first round in a guillotine and ended the fight. And so that was the whole card. It was an exciting card. It was a great card from start to finish, it was a good all-around display of martial arts. We had knockouts, we had submissions, we had decisions, we had everything, and everybody came in to fight. There wasn't a boring fight the entire night. So That was a great card. And so now I want to kind of talk about what I've been bringing up, the whole thing about game plans, is because game plans are we were able to see, like I mentioned, those two fights where someone stuck to the game plan. Doug Anderson stuck to his game plan the entire time, and Andrew Aurelio stuck to his game plan the entire time, and it worked. So I've always asked the question, like, at what point do you change the game plan, and how much of the game plan do you change if it's not working to your benefit? Because and a lot of times you'll see, like, so there'll be striking, it'll be striking exchanges, and one fighter's getting the best of the other fighter, maybe keeping him at range. The game plan's keep him at range, and so they'll decide, the corner may decide, okay, we got to switch up the game plan, and they usually go to like the complete drastic opposite end of the game plan. So they'll be like, all right, striking's not working, let's go to wrestling. And that, and it doesn't, you don't really see that work a lot unless that someone's just such a better wrestler and they should have been wrestling the whole time anyways. Normally when you have like such a drastic change in game plans, it doesn't really work to your advantage, and we saw that in the Valentina Shevchenko and Liz Carmouche fight. Liz was bouncing in and out, trying to keep range, trying to be fast, trying to use her movement to win this fight, and it wasn't really working to her benefit because Valentina is just so much better. She's so much quicker. So every time Liz came in, she'd catch her with something real quick, and that would kind of nullify her movement. So then towards the end of the later in the rounds, Liz was like, well, I'm going to go to the ground with her now. So now all of a sudden she's going from bouncing back and forth to trying to rush in close and get a submission or get it to the ground. And I don't think that, as a fighter, you're expecting that. Okay, if this isn't working, they're going to try something completely drastic to change it. The beauty of changing up a game plan, I think, and the best display of it was actually last night's fight with Stipe and Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier was getting the best of all the exchanges. He was, it was just, it was good back and forth. It was good back and forth, but it really felt like Daniel was winning he was winning all the rounds. And so Stipe just made a slight change. He just made a slight change in his game plan and started going to the body. And then once he started going to the body, that's all it took. That's all it took to end the round. And so that was something, I was looking at, the Jordan Munoz fight. He's someone that I train with, and Doug had a great game plan. Every time Jordan stepped in, Doug would throw a teep kick. Every time he stepped in, Doug would throw a teep kick. Now, I didn't listen to the corner of Jordan, but what he was doing, the plan or whatever was happening at that moment, that game plan wasn't working. It's either up to him or up to his corners or up to someone to figure out what's going on and how to implement the new game plan. And the new game plan can't be change it completely and go from a stand-up fight to a wrestling match or a jiu-jitsu match, because whoever you're fighting is expecting that. What DC was not expecting was all of a sudden from Stipe to go from headshot to headshot to all of a sudden ripping shots to the body. That was the most beautiful display of just a small little change in the game plan that changed the entire fight. DC's constantly trying to get in close. He wants to get that neck collar so he can come with the overhand right, which is how he finished the first fight. Or he wants to hand fight. He wants to get a hold of your hands, knock your hands down, come over the top, all the stuff that DC does. And so with all of that, it's putting his hands up a lot. It's getting his hands up quite a bit. So he's able to block a lot of headshots because his hands are already up. When Stipe starts throwing shots to the body, all of a sudden that changes everything, because now his hands have to go up from down, and that was just a small little game plan change that ended up winning the entire fight for him. So I don't need to go any further into that fight because I already explained exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. DC was winning most of the rounds, and Stipe decided he was going to change it. DC decided time to go to the body, starts ripping the body, fight over. Stipe Miocic, your new heavyweight champion, and again. But the people's fights, those last 3 fights of the night were all amazing. They were all exactly what you want to get. Those are all by themselves. They were all main events. The Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero, Nate Diaz, Anthony Pettis, Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic. They were all they were all main event fights, and they all lived up to the hype, which I have to say has not been happening as of recently for these UFC events. I've been kind of disappointed with a lot of these UFC events, but these 3 lived up to the hype. Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa. I don't know anybody who wasn't out of their seat just going nuts during that fight. They both knocked each other down in the first round, almost finished each other. They were just beating each other back and forth. It was such a great fight to watch. It was such a great fight to witness. And this division is so scary. I mean, you look at those guys. Then you got Israel Adesanya. You've got Robert Whittaker. I mean, you've got just killer's row of guys in this division. But I feel like this division, like the guys at the top, are always getting hurt. Like, I feel like this division out of all of them have had the most canceled bouts, which is so frustrating because this, to me, is the most exciting division. This is the division that I want to watch the most, and it's the one I get to see the least because so many fights get canceled. But I'm glad this fight didn't get canceled. I'm glad it went through, and it was an amazing fight. Some people had Yoel winning the fight. I had Paulo winning the fight. And, I just felt like this is Paulo's time. I felt like this was his fight to win. And as much as I love Yoel, as much as I always cheer for him and always want him to win, and I did want him to win, I wanted to be wrong. I wanted him to win. But I felt like Paulo was going to win this fight. Then you go to the Anthony Pettis, Nate Diaz fight. And I had Pettis winning this. I had Pettis winning this fight in my pre-fight prediction, because I know that Nate likes to fight 5-round fights. He likes to wear his opponents down, and with the tear that Pettis has been on and the power that he's been showing to have, I mean, to knock out Wonder Boy is no joke. Wonder Boy went with Woodley and was taking Woodley shots, and for him to get put to sleep by Pettis, I just thought Pettis had power and the Diaz, was going to get caught, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Diaz came in and finished that fight, or didn't finish the fight, but it went to decision. But he had control, pretty much the entire fight. And Pettis had some good moments, had some flash stuff, and was catching stuff. It wasn't a walk in the park for Diaz. But I thought Diaz was going to start slower, so I thought in a 5-round fight I'm going to give it to Diaz, but in a 3-round fight I'm going to give it to Pettis, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Diaz came out, did his damn thing, and finished the fight. So I keep saying finish the fight. He won by decision, but it was just, it was old. It was classic Nate Diaz, and I didn't think ring rust was going to be an issue for him. That was one of the one things that I was like, nah, he's not going to have ring rust. He's not going to come out. He's not going to have to get used to being in the ring again. But I thought it's still going to take a while because he always takes a while to get started. He's got to wear you down, punch until you finally get tired. And then his post-fight post-fight interview was the best of the night. I mean, he stole the entire show. There's nothing that Stipe or Daniel could have done at that point to try to win the show, because Nate Diaz stole the entire show. And he's calling out Cuban Jesus, what's his name? Jorge Masvidal. I mean, that who's not gonna see that fight? Who's not gonna pay all their money to watch that fight? Those two guys. He's a gangster, but he's not a West Coast gangster, and the crowd goes wild. I mean, Nate Diaz right now is the face. He's the new face of the UFC. He has to be. And it's going to drive him crazy because he doesn't play by their rules. He doesn't play by anybody's rules. But dude, he's the man. He's the man to write those big paychecks to right now. And I was all in on on setting up Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor, basically because I thought that Jorge was going to murder him, and that was going to be the end of Conor's career, and we wouldn't have to hear about him anymore. But apparently, a 70-year-old man did that for us. He finished Conor's career. So I was all in on that fight, but now I'm all in on this fight. Like, now that division has just been split into two divisions. You've got you have the wrestlers, you have the Kamaru Usmans, you have the Colby Covingtons, you have basically or Tyron Woodleys. You have that side of the division, and then you have the fun side of the division. You have the Anthony Pettis fights, you have the Nate Diaz, you have the Jorge Masvidals, you have the Leon Edwards. Like, that division has now become two divisions, which is so exciting because watching what Colby Covington did to Robbie Lawler was amazing to watch, because you don't see anybody do that with Robbie Lawler. But it's not the most exciting to watch. I mean, even the output of how many punches Colby was putting on, none of them looked like they had power behind them. None of them looked like they were really doing too much. And so it wasn't that exciting to watch. It was like watching a sparring match with somebody who's like, all right, I'm going to throw a lot of volume. I'm not going to put a lot of power on it. I just want to make sure that I'm, able to get through the round and put a lot of pressure on you. So, whatever. That's what it kind of felt like, because it just felt like Robbie was just bobbing and weaving and just like taking a bunch of punishment, but it wasn't like hurting him. He was just doing his thing. So, and then, Kamaru Usman does his thing where he just wrestles. So, good for them. That's how they're going to win fights. And like Nate Diaz said, they found a loophole to winning fights, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Colby's exciting as far as like selling the fight because of all the insanity that comes with it, and the crazy stuff that he says, and his crazy opinions, and the character that he puts on. So yeah, it's exciting to hear about it. But now we're getting these fights. Now we have Nate Diaz back. Now we have Anthony Pettis, who's still exciting. Anthony Pettis is still going to be like a force to be reckoned with. I'd like to see Anthony versus Robbie now, because Robbie, I think, fits into the second category of fighters, the guys that are just down to fight, the Jorge Masvidals, the Nate Diaz's. Like, I think he fits into that camp. So let's throw Robbie over there, and like let's let this whole group do their thing. And Nate's claiming there's another belt. He's claiming there's a belt that he owns now. I can't remember what he said. It's like the baddest ass man on the planet or something like that. So let them fight for that belt. Kamaru and Colby can have that boring belt, the boring fight belt, and be the official champs. But the people's champs, the ones people are going to watch, are we saw that main event, and we can run that back with a few other names. So a few other names in there. So that's an exciting division to watch. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a good night of fights. There were some, they were all great fights, but those top three were really exciting to watch, and they really kind of were setting the landscape for the division. What's next for Stipe? I've been saying Stipe John Jones for a long time. I said it one day, and then the very next day, John Jones tweeted it out. I don't know if he listened to me, but he tweeted it out, but it was a joke. But I think that's a fight to make. I mean, you can do Francis again. He's always exciting to watch. I mean, the heavyweight division is still always going to be the heavyweight division, where you got some real rock stars, and then you just have some not so great fights. But there's nothing for John at 205. I just right now maybe I heard some people say a year, but I still think it's like 2 years away before they build themselves back up. But then you got John with 2 more years on him. And, if he loses, then it's going to be the complaint that he's too old and whatever. So, I think it's time for him to go to heavyweight, but we'll see. I'm not in his brain. I don't know what he wants to do. And then, like I said, the 170 division is stacked right now. It is the most exciting division. And then, the middleweights, I want to see them all fight. They just got to keep them healthy, got to keep them fresh. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great time to to be in one of those 3 divisions because they're all pretty exciting. But yeah, that's all I got for you. So, those who joined in, thanks for watching. I'm going to try to say this and edit it and just have this be a regular episode. If not, those who saw it or those who watch it and get to see it, special and unique. But this was an episode of just my opinion. This is what I think is going on in the landscape of not only the UFC but also our local fighters that fight for Steelfist. We've got the best show. I actually have a belt. I actually have my title for being the best show in Utah, but I'm not going to wear it because it will embarrass Kevin and Pat. They don't like me always bragging about how we're the best the best fights in Utah, but we are. It's coming into it. Watching that they built it, and watching that they built it, and this is their baby. I get to come in and talk about how good it is because I've been to the other shows. I've witnessed and been backstage and whatever, sat in the stands. And there's not a better show in Utah. That's why I decided to come and work with these guys. Why I asked them to let me work with them, because it is the best show in Utah. So, we got the best fighters, and now all of you that are paying attention to this, all of you that have fought for Steelfist, you guys have made it what it is. You guys have made the fights the best show in Utah. I don't know if it's what it is, but I feel like you guys come out and fight best for Steelfist. And it's all because of you. We wouldn't be here without you fighters. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening and watching and supporting all that we're doing. And thank you for just doing what you do, putting in the time and the effort and the training. Taking this serious, because that's how we're going to put Utah on the map, is with you guys. We're not going to do it with me talking. We're not going to do it with fancy belts being handed out. We're going to do it on the back of you guys. And all the hard work that you put in. So thank you for you guys, what you do. Just keep it up. Keep working hard. Keep training hard. I'll do what I can to get you seen, to get butts in seats. Let's do this together. Everybody, that's all I got for you today. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. I love you.
Let's begin now.